In this video, we're going to talk about the 5 common programming methodologies that can be used to create your code in a more structured way. Programming methodologies deal with the analysis, design, and implementation of programs. The purpose of these methodologies is to allow program writers to be more aware of the processes and procedures which they can use when constructing different programs. As we tackle the 5 common methodologies, we will be able to define and know the advantages of the given methodologies. For the first programming methodology, we have the Agile software development. So according to AGILEalliance.org, it is more than practices such as pair programming, test-driven development, stand-ups, planning sessions, and sprints. Agile software development is an umbrella term for a set of frameworks and practices based on the values and principles expressed in the Manifesto for Agile Software Development and the 12 principles behind it. When you approach software development in a particular manner, it's generally good to live by these values and principles and use them to help figure out the right things to do given your particular context. One thing that separates Agile from other approaches to software development is the focus on the people doing the work and how they work together. Solutions evolve through collaboration between self-organizing, cross-functional teams utilizing the appropriate practices for their context. Using Agile software development is like this. First is planning, next is analysis, third is design and implementation, fourth is testing and integration, and the last one is maintenance. According to Technologies, the advantages of using Agile are the following: stakeholder engagement, transparency, early and predictable delivery, predictable cost and schedule, allows for change, focuses on business value, focuses on users, improves quality. So basically, you can use Agile if new changes are needed to be implemented so that the developers can only lose the work for a few days or even for a few hours and to roll back and implement it again as soon as possible. The second programming methodology is SCRUM. SCRUM is a framework for project management that emphasizes teamwork, accountability, and iterative progress toward a well-defined goal. The framework begins with a simple premise. Start with what can be seen or known. After that, track the progress and tweak as necessary. The 3 pillars of SCRUM are transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Each member has a role in this methodology, and these are the product owner, which is responsible for ensuring expectations for the completed product have been agreed upon. Second is the Scrum Master, which is responsible for ensuring that Scrum best practices are carried out in the project. And lastly, the Scrum Development Team, which is a group that work together for creating and testing incremental releases of the final product. So Scrum process is like this. First is the daily Scrum, which is a short stand-up meeting to talk about the work that was completed and to plan what work will be done in the next 24 hours. Before we move forward, sprint refers to the time frame in which work must be completed, and it is usually 30 days. Next is sprint planning meeting, wherein everyone participates in setting the goals, and at the end, at least one increment, which is a usable piece of software, should be produced. Next is sprint review, is the time to show of the increment. We also have sprint retrospective, which is a meeting held after a sprint ends. Everyone here reflects on the sprint process. We also have Scrum artifacts, which is used to see what's been done and what's still in the queue. Next is product backlog, which refers to what remains on the to-do list, and the team here works with the owner to prioritize work that has been backlogged. Sprint backlog is a list of tasks that must be completed before selected product backlog items can be delivered. We also have product increment, which refers to what's been accomplished and reflects how much progress has been made. Lastly is burn down, which is a visual representation of the amount of work that still needs to be completed. A burn down chart has a y-axis, which is work, and an x-axis, which is time. Ideally, the chart illustrates a downward trend as the amount of work still left to do over time burns down to zero. The advantages of using Scrum are the following: improved quality of product development, faster delivery of projects, high return of investment, building team characteristics, and generate required data. The third programming methodology is the waterfall model. The waterfall model was the first process model to be introduced. In a waterfall model, each phase must be completed before the next phase can begin, and there is no overlapping in the phases. Waterfall model is the earliest software development lifecycle or SDLC approach that was used for software development. The outcome of one phase acts as the input for the next phase sequentially. This means that any phase in the development process begins only if the previous phase is complete. The waterfall model is a sequential design process in which progress is seen as flowing steadily downwards. The sequential phases in waterfall model are the following. First is requirement gathering and analysis, wherein all possible requirements of the system to be developed are captured in this phase and documented in a requirement specification document. Next is system design. The requirement specifications from first phase are studied in this phase and the system design is prepared. The system design helps in specifying hardware and system requirements and helps in defining the overall system architecture. Next is implementation. With inputs from the system design, the system is first developed in small programs called units, which are integrated in the next phase. Each unit is developed and tested for its functionality, which is referred to as unit testing. Integration and testing. All the units developed in the implementation phase are integrated into a system after testing of each unit. Post-integration, the entire system is tested for any faults and failures. Deployment of system. Once the functional and non-functional testing is done, the product is deployed in the customer environment or released into the market. The last one is maintenance. There are some issues which come up in the client environment. To fix those issues, patches are released. Also, to enhance the product, some better versions are released. Maintenance is done to deliver these changes in the customer environment. The advantages of using the waterfall model are the following. First is simple and easy to understand and use. Easy to manage due to the rigidity of the model. Each phase has specific deliverables and a review process. Third, phases are processed and completed one at a time. Fourth, works well for smaller projects where requirements are very well understood. And the last one is clearly defined stages. This model is used when the requirements are very well known, clear, and fixed. Also, the product definition is stable, short, and there are no ambiguous requirements. The fourth programming methodology is Rational Unified Process or RUP. RUP is a software development process from Rational, a division of International Business Machines or IBM. It divides the development process into 4 distinct phases that each involve business modeling, analysis and design, implementation, testing, and deployment, and is divided into 4 phases, namely inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. The RUP development methodology provides a structured way for companies to envision and create software programs. Since it provides a specific plan for each step of the development process, it helps prevent resources from being wasted and reduces unexpected development costs. The 4 phases of RUP are the following. First is inception, wherein the idea for the project is stated. The development team determines if the project is worth pursuing and what resources will be needed. Second is elaboration. The project's architecture and required resources are further evaluated. Developers consider possible applications of the software and costs associated with the development. Third is construction. The project is developed and completed. The software is designed, written, and tested. And the last one is transition. The software is released to the public. Final adjustments or updates are made based on the feedback from end users. The advantages of RUP are the following. Allows for the adaptive capability to deal with changing requirements throughout the development life cycle, whether they may be from customers or from within project developers itself. Emphasizes the need and proper implementation of accurate documentation. This is also a complete methodology in itself with an emphasis on accurate documentation. The development time required is less due to reuse of components. When there is a higher level of uncertainty in the project that precludes using a more traditional plan-driven approach, or there are other advantages to be gained such as time to market from a more iterative approach, then RUP is for you. The fifth and the last common programming methodology in this video is the Extreme Programming or XP. Extreme Programming is an agile project management methodology that supports frequent releases in short development cycles to improve software quality and allow developers to respond to changing customer requirements. You may see that some of these practices are from other project management methodology, but Extreme Programming or XP takes these practices to extreme level. Here are the rules of Extreme Programming methodology. First is planning. This stage is where the UX magic happens. Rather than a lengthy requirements document, the customer writes user stories which define the functionality the customer would like to see, along with the business value and priority of each of those features. User stories don't need to be exhaustive or overly technical. They only need to provide enough detail to help the team determine how long it will take to implement those features. Next is managing. At this stage, the project manager will set the team up to succeed in this methodology. Everyone needs to work collaboratively and effectively communicate to avoid any slip-ups. We also have designing. This rule goes back to the value of simplicity. Start with the simplest design because it will take less time to complete than the complex solution. Then the time finally comes to implement code. XP practices collective code ownership. Everyone reviews code and any developer can add functionality, fix bugs, or refactor. And the last one is testing. The team performs unit tests and fixes bugs before the code can be released. They also run acceptance tests frequently. The greatest advantage of extreme programming is that this methodology allows software development companies to save costs and time required for project realization. XP eliminates unproductive activities to reduce costs and frustrations of everyone involved. It allows developers to focus on coding. Also, it reduces the risk related to programming or related to project failure. At the end, XP ensures that the client gets exactly what he wants. And those are the 5 common methodologies that you can use to create your code in a more structured way. Take note that there are a lot of programming methodologies that you can use like lean software development, spiral mode, rapid application development, and test-driven development. If you like this video, make sure to hit and smash that like button below, and if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. Lastly, we would also like to thank the following sources to make this video possible.